Good evening. Welcome to the public forum for the city manager search. Thank you for joining us. Dawn Garish from Eaton Peabody will be facilitating the meeting tonight. Just a quick note on how to participate. If you utilize the Q&A feature of the Zoom webinar to submit your comments and questions, Tony will be monitoring the questions and will unmute your connection and allow you to speak. Dawn?
Thank you, and welcome to everyone out there watching this evening. My name's Don Garish. I work for Eaton Peabody Consulting Group, and the City Council has hired us to assist them with the city manager search. And I'm a retired municipal manager, had 39 years in the profession, retired from Brunswick after 20 years there, and have been working for Eaton Peabody for the last 10 years. We have done close to 50 searches over that time frame from a number of communities. I assisted Ellsworth 5 years ago when you went through the process of hiring a manager, and I appreciate the opportunity to be back this evening. What we plan to do this evening is I'm going to talk a little bit about the process that the City Council has approved and talk about the timeline that has been approved for the process. But the reason we're here is to allow the public the opportunity to be part of this process. And if you're watching or and want to participate, there are two questions that we'd like to have answered when your opportunity comes. One is, what do you see the issues facing Ellsworth in the next 5 years? So that we have some ideas, but at least you're thinking of those issues that this new city manager might have to tackle. And then secondly, we're looking to ask you, what are the qualifications you'd like to see in the new city manager? Their experience, their personal traits, their education, those sort of things. So we will ask you to do that. This is a process that is going forward, so we want to make it positive. And we'd like everyone's comments to be positive and to move forward. We're not here to look back at this point in time. So please keep your comments positive and contribute to this process. So a little bit about the time frame. We have been advertising for the position, and today actually is the deadline for the applications. As of a few minutes ago, we've had 20 applications for the position. I've reviewed them, and the council on Friday will receive a booklet with all of the resumes that we've received, along with a recommendation from me who I would think they should consider to interview. They certainly will have an opportunity to look at all the resumes and make their decisions, but on Friday they will receive those. The council will be planning to meet next week. In executive session, we will review the candidates, we will go over their resumes, and the council will decide who they would like to interview. When they decide that, we will then schedule the first round of interviews. Most likely, those will be some in person, maybe, and some Skype, depending, or Zoom, depending where they are located, and if they could come for an interview. We are looking for next either Wednesday or Thursday for that meeting. And then we're looking the week of November 12th through the 13th to have the first round of interviews for the candidates. We will hold those. And then from those, the council will decide on who they want to bring back for a second round of interview. And most likely that will be 2 candidates. It could be 3 candidates, could be more, depending on what the council feels from the first round of interviews. And we have scheduled tentatively the week of November 30th through December 4th for those second round of interviews. Part of the process that the council has agreed to is to have department heads have an opportunity to interview the finalists. We will be making the announcement of who the finalists are so that the public will have an opportunity to know who they are and to maybe talk with counselors if you have any input into the finalists. So when we have that second round of interviews and have the department heads do interviews, the council will do their second interview and then anticipated to make a decision on who the finalist is. Once that is done, negotiations will take place with the finalist and for a contract. And once we have a contract, at least agreeable, the council can announce who that is and when the possible starting date is. Council will, once we have an agreement on a contract, council will hold a meeting and formally adopt a contract with that person. So that's the timeframe. And so hopefully a new manager can be named by the week of December 14th. When the new manager starts will depend upon what that person, where they're working, how much time they have to give. Sometimes if a manager is hired that is working in another position, it may be 30 to 45 days before they can start. And if they're, say, from out of state or far away, then it may be even further, and we will work that out. So that's a little bit about the process that the council has agreed to. And so now this is an opportunity for anyone out there who wants to ask questions or mainly give us your opinion on the two questions I asked. So we'll open it up. Tony, I guess you're the...
I have no question and answers that just came in here as of yet.
Is anybody out there that wants to?
There's 5 or 6 people in, if they have comment.
Oh, keep going, I'm sorry, I was just gonna get you a mic here.
And you have to let them in to speak, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
As soon as we get a comment, we will let whoever in wants to say something.
Let me just add that I did have an opportunity today to have one-on-one interviews with almost all of the department heads for the city. And I asked them the same question I'm asking the public this evening. I did receive through emails, because on the notice there was a email address for people who wanted to directly send a comment in who couldn't be here. I did receive 5 of those, 6 of those. Those will be included in the document that I will produce at the end of this. It will be a document listing what I heard for issues and what I heard for characteristics of a new city manager. And that probably I'll have it ready for Monday of next week. It's a public document. All the council will get it. I would say put it up on your website because it starts to paint a picture, as I said to you before, of what people are thinking about issues and what they are looking for in a city manager.
So Dawn, some of the people were hoping that you would go through the response forms that we received already. If that's something we can do tonight, just.
Normally what I do is to put everything together in one document.
Okay.
And I mean, I'd rather do that and then try to pick these out and take specific people said this or that. I normally don't do that. I'm just letting you know. I mean, concerns I've heard, I'll just give you an overview. Concerns I've heard for issues facing the community is certainly finances with the COVID-19 and how you're going to deal with that in the next few years. Infrastructure issues that are going to be coming to the city in terms of building space and having space here, but also sewer and water availability for growth in the community. I've heard issues about with the mood, not the mood, that was not the right word, the issues facing not only in the United States, but here for human rights, and how is the community going to deal with that here, and how is the manager going to relate to that. And so, I mean, that's a little idea of what I've heard. from issues. And, you know, it's interesting. They want a manager, what I've heard is, you know, you hear it, not a micromanager, that has a personality, that treats the public and the staff fairly, can take care of issues. If there are issues that need to be dealt with, they want someone to be able to deal with it, have an open door policy, recognize staff, be available to the public. Those are the type of things I'm hearing. But when I put this whole document together, you'll start to, I will tell you, it will paint a picture of what's going on and what are the issues here once I do it all together. So at least that answers some of the questions, Tony.
I have nothing else coming in.
What are the 12 Q&A?
Most of them were just, they weren't able to see the broadcast, and there was like a lag between the planning board meeting and ours.
Okay.
Then one was just that they thought we were still muted, which we were. And then this last one, wanted to know if we had a summary of the citizens' input, which we'll publish once that's all compiled as one.
Yeah, there'll be a document in it, you know, we did this last time, there'll be a list of, here are what I've heard from everybody on issues. Now, please understand, this isn't going to say this person said that, it's going to be a summary of everything, and also a summary of what we heard for the characteristics of the new city manager.
Okay, I have one that has a question, but I'm waiting on them to submit the actual question. And another that would like to speak, so Nate has to turn them on. FBC staff?
Well, while you're doing that, I would just say that anybody that's joining, obviously, one, thank you for participating, and I would encourage you to share any of your thoughts, recommendations, so that we can have that available. I certainly understand if you're not comfortable in bringing it up maybe in this kind of forum, but at least forward your thoughts on, so that we have that available. But certainly if you have anything that you're willing to share tonight, that's helpful as well. But obviously there's an interest, and so please make sure that your voice gets heard one way or the other.
There's an email address on the notice that will come directly to me, so anybody that to do it. And the other thing I've heard, not only department heads, but I told the department heads to let their staff know too. So this is all-inclusive. This isn't just department heads, staff, if they want to send something along, they can do that.
I have one that has come in. It reads, one opportunity that the city will face over the next several years is to work with community volunteers through the Ellsworth Green Plan. I'd like to see a city manager who has experience with engaging interested community members to leverage the work that city staff are already accomplishing. For example, Frenchman's Bay Conservancy can help with identifying lands for conservation as well as land for redevelopment. Other organizations are working on the relicensing of the dam on the Union River.
If I could just have a copy of that, that's fine. We'll include that in the material.
Nate, can you let John Stein speak?
Actually, I'll show you how to make that real quick.
Woo!
I'll give you the power.
And I need to be able to, can we save this comment so we can,
I believe we can come back in the end to get
Okay.
that, yes. Yep. So just click that attendees right there. And you'll see John right there. And if you right-click on it, I believe.
we have to minimize this?
No, I actually have to promote you, but while I'm
Okay.
doing that, I will let John sign in. So-
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
yep.
Just in case we can't go back, I'll take a picture and email it to
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks so much for doing this. I think it's really important for our city, so I very much appreciate it. Thank you. My question is, this year we've seen many Black Lives Matter protests on Main Street. We've seen other protests from other groups with different protesting against different things, but in terms of the Black Lives Matter protests, it's hard to pretend that these issues don't affect our city at all. I mean, driving down the street and seeing these happening on a weekly basis. Is it the council's opinion that the prospective manager's job be to look into any local roots of these issues or local effects of these issues concerning Black Lives Matter? Will it be the prospective manager's job to understand and have any training in such issues of racial injustice and diversity and inclusion? And is diversity in general to be a prioritized issue for this new manager?
John, if you think those are important, those are things that you would like to see in a new city manager, am I correct?
That's right. And I guess if that is the duty of this committee to select that manager, is it something that the committee will prioritize in selecting that manager?
That's going to be a decision that the city council will make, but I'll add your comments. You sent me something also that I think includes these issues, and I will include that in the list of things that people feel that the city manager should have some background in. So I will include that in my material. Tonight, and I don't mean to set you off course, but your question is more directly to the city council, and that's going to be their decision to make. And I think that's more of a question to be had when you have a city council meeting. This is more of getting your input into what you'd like to see. The city council, will make the decision based upon a lot of factors, and part of it will be what the information I give them from hearing from everybody. So it's not, I just don't think this is the appropriate place to have a discussion with the city council if they're going to. It will be included in the information. They'll have to make that decision. So does that make sense to you, so you understand that?
Yeah, I guess I would shift my question then to just, I would like to see a prioritization of the new city manager in diversity.
Excellent. Yeah, you did send me something that will be included. Anything else?
Thank you.
Anything else you want from a city manager?
It's maybe another question, I guess, would be, it's another question from the council. I can bring that up elsewhere.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
John, this is Dale. Just a quick question. I certainly understand some aspects of what you're talking about in terms of having training. Do you have any specific recommendations when you say that? What does that look like for you in terms of if the council is vetting a candidate, do you have any specific recommendations in terms of what that looks like? Because it's a pretty broad statement in terms of that can be applied in different ways, and I'm just wondering if you had some recommendations around that. And if you don't right now, if you could send those on to Dawn, that would certainly be helpful.
Sure, I can send those along. Our business has joined a few different training groups that do that professionally, nonprofit groups that do that, so I can send those along.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, John.
Okay. Where did it go? Did that work? Todd?
Hi, everybody. This is my name is Todd Little. I live over on the Bayside Road, and I wanted to thank you for doing this. And I understand, obviously, the hiring process is very complicated, bringing together the insights and sort of input from a wide variety of constituencies. And I know you're not looking backwards at what failures were in the past or what strengths there were in the past, but really saying what are the major qualifications. I would say that one thing, like when you were mentioning the questions about infrastructure growth and how to manage those, I've got to assume that every town manager should be able to manage a sewage project or whatever. So I think that one of the things, obviously, is there's a core set of skills that anyone who would be viable as a candidate must be able to do. Many of those are operational and those sorts of things. As a citizen, I would actually really urge the city council to consider the new city manager as a connector, as someone who is really bringing together different constituencies in the community to talk about the future of Ellsworth, because I think it's quite difficult in such a large town with so many different interests to bring people together. One qualification that I feel also very strongly about is somebody with a background in innovative growth strategies for towns. Ellsworth is going through pretty dramatic sets of growth and changes. And I'd like to see somebody who's actually experienced in coming up with good solutions and looking for win-win kinds of solutions to growth challenges. I'm very concerned that we don't have a good strategy around sprawl. We've been talking about it for as long. I've been in town for more than 20 years, and people have been talking about it. Not convinced the town has a good strategy yet around that. So I think really questions of innovative growth management and inclusive, sort of collaborative with the community. So one qualification I would like to see is somebody with an actual track record of convening different constituencies within their community to build consensus about directions. And for example, I think I would want somebody who understands why we need an updated comprehensive plan and that sort of stuff. The challenges I think that obviously Ellsworth faces is growth, what we should be calling small growth or smart growth, to try to really leverage our strengths. And I would want somebody myself, and I know this is just one little drop in the bucket, but I think many people that I've talked to were disappointed that there wasn't more movement on really developing strategies for foregrounding the riverfront and helping the city become focused on the river. Again, I understand the challenges. I know it was addressed last night in the debate about sort of what would you do, but I want somebody who's interested in leading an effort like that, and not just talking about leading that effort. Because I think that a track record of building community support, as many of the candidates were talking about last night, experience with public-private partnerships would be very good. I mean, looking at how, with such a large opportunity, the city can't accomplish that, but where they're bringing all kinds of new tools. And I would love to see somebody who's bringing new strategies to the table that can help the council really say, oh, okay, so this is great. This community did that, this community did that. Here's how they did it. Because I think that it's easy to see the challenges. I want somebody who's looking for the solutions. And lastly, I want a city manager who has a track record of listening to citizens. Not to focus on the past, but I think having a new leader who has an open door policy and who follows through with citizens would be great. I know the city council has a sort of forward-facing responsibility as being elected by the citizens of Ellsworth, but the town manager needs also to take citizens' input and interest and ideas seriously and figure out how to include interested citizens in finding solutions. As somebody who who's been interested in many of those issues, I think that would be something would really help the community. Thank you.
Good suggestions, Todd. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I have FBC staff. I'm not sure who's on the line, but
Hello, this is Aaron Doherty. So I'd like to echo some of what Todd said. I think those were excellent comments. I think also that a city manager needs to be aware of the natural assets in the city, not just the community assets and the business assets, but also places like the Union River, large undeveloped habitat blocks and other natural amenities in the city, and think about how to continue to use those to support the quality of place as a valuable place for citizens to live and for people to visit in the future. I also want to make sure that the city manager is aware of the 2015 vision study that was done. That study, now several years old, I think it's still very relevant, and it talked about how residents and visitors prioritized some of the places that I was just talking about, as well as outdoor recreation and connections between green spaces. It also had a lot to say about housing, about transportation, bikeability and walkability within the city. So there are also a number of initiatives that have already begun within the city, including a bike and pedestrian plan, and guidance offered by outside groups. So I'd like for a city manager to be able to look at some of the work that's already been done within the city departments. I'm most familiar with the planning department and more recently economic development as well. And like Todd said, to be able to draw on the resources within the community, because the city itself has a limited number of city staff. We're a small city with 7,000 to 8,000 residents and can't support a very large staff, but one of the benefits of this community is that there are a lot of very interested and engaged organizations and individuals who, I think, if corralled and provided direction and incentive and valued, then a city manager who acts as a leader and offers a sort of culture of support, community support, could really engage people in a productive way. So I'd like to see that happen as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Heart of Ellsworth coming in.
Good evening. This is Cara Romano from Heart of Ellsworth. Thank you all to the hiring committee for your transparency and keeping the community engaged in this process. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, it's hard to tell. So as Todd and John and Aaron Doherty from Frenshman Bay Conservancy just stated, I think one of the important things for a small nonprofit that exists solely for the city that we all know and love is that this next city manager be a connector and that they're able to sort of bring everyone together and really with an eye toward community development and have extensive experience in community development. We're hopeful that they can find common ground between special interest groups, nonprofits, and municipal workers that will help us all move forward by working together. And that city manager would be finding balance between the economic and community development to make the city sort of whole with its eyes wide open moving forward. We have a lot of really great nonprofit resources that are underutilized in this city. And if we are to bring in those nonprofit resources and to have those folks working along with city staff, there's so much more that I think that we can all accomplish. And a lot of these nonprofit entities in the city too, they are affiliated on a statewide and nationwide level. So there's a lot of ability for ideas to come to our city that are a great fit for our city from other areas in the country. Heart of Ellsworth is very interested in moving forward with the city in the future and this next city manager to help with community development block grant proposals for downtown. And we hope that we have the opportunity to work with city staff and the next city manager to accomplish these goals. One example that we've been exploring for quite a while, but would be an entire city-wide effort that we would like to see happen, is the Heart and Soul program coming to Ellsworth to sort of help Ellsworth come up with what its priorities are, what its vision is, and where it is that we are going in the next 5 to 10 years. So I can either take questions or further clarification online or offline.
Thank you, Kara. Those are good suggestions.
Thank you.
Okay, I have one Q&A that just came in from Todd, who just spoke, that a great interview technique would be to show the candidates the community vision document and ask them what kinds of ideas they have for implementing that vision. The candidates with the best concrete ideas, drawing on their knowledge and experience, would really emerge from such a process. It might get at who has the best and most practical ideas.
Good.
And I had one comment here from Steve Salisbury. He is looking for a manager that supports growing businesses who already have a footprint in Ellsworth, and for one that is willing to invite new business to Ellsworth, one that will support the planning and economic development department, and someone who's interested in developing contract zoning, someone that will treat employees and the public with respect, and someone who will leverage matching funds with Department of Transportation for road work.
Good.
I have no open Q&As, and no one has asked to speak.
I have a couple of things from Facebook. Several people like to see the city manager live in Ellsworth. One person wants to offer Dale the job. And
charter.
And one other person said, I'd like to see a city manager who understands intersectionality and leads through a framework that includes everyone in the conversations. This position must be held by an individual that has a keen ability to listen. And then Christina Little-Siebold said it would be important for the candidate to have demonstrated experience in bringing to the table local organizations, other constituencies to maximize as a team, Heart of Ellsworth. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading that. A city that offers quality of life, already established businesses, and residents will bring other tax dollars. We would love to have a city manager that has a presence in maximizing our resources. That's all I'll say.
Aaron Doherty would like to speak again, so I'm going to pop him back in here.
All right, thanks so much for the second chance. So I wanted to just raise the obvious, the economic challenges that are facing the city and businesses and really everyone these days. And I think that a lot of businesses are getting short-term support, and that support is really uncertain over the medium to long term. So I think that it's going to be imperative for the city manager and the council to think about how to support local businesses in the future and really what the character of the city looks like going forward. And I use that word local. I want to place emphasis on that because I think there are a lot of local businesses in Ellsworth that were thriving prior to COVID-19 and the economic challenges that we've faced since then. And I worry about those businesses. I think a lot of people do. In some ways, the analogy of a natural disaster seems appropriate here. I don't want to take that too far because we haven't seen the same sort of wipeout that other places would see as a result of a natural disaster. But I think it is important for the city council to make sure that a city manager is thinking about what are the opportunities to grow the community and to support the local businesses and to, this comment about community planning factors in this as well. When you have these sort of major transitions or major inflection point in a community, what is the role of the city government going forward in terms of supporting those businesses and working with the community to craft a vision for, for small businesses to thrive in the future? So, thank you.
Aaron, this is Dale. I don't want to interpret what you're saying. So this is a question, not a statement.
Sure.
Are you also implying that the city manager needs some skill set of working with the state and federal delegations in terms of pursuing those kinds of opportunities as well, or are you strictly talking about local?
That's a good question. I wasn't thinking specifically about that, but it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, we want someone in the position who is a creative problem solver, who can look at all of the opportunities to bring resources to this community. But I was also thinking about someone who's not stuck in a particular mindset, but recognizes that the situation has changed from what it was 6 months ago, a year ago, 18 months ago. Mm-hmm. And if we're looking at a different situation going forward, what does that mean for Ellsworth? What are the opportunities? And how do we engage the resources that are in the community to put a plan together to go forward and support local businesses like those that have cropped up and hung on in this community? So it's both bringing in those outside resources from the state and the feds, but also working with the community assets that we have and thinking about what we need to do to support Ellsworth's thriving business community.
Great, thank you.
I got a couple of comments that myself and Councilor Miller could not be heard. I don't know if Councilor Miller would like to just review those couple of Facebook comments again to see if they can go through so those listening can hear.
Yeah, it was several people want the new city manager to live in Ellsworth. And then, like I said, one person offered Dale a job. And then we had the one, I would like to see a city manager who understands intersectionality and leads through a framework that includes everyone in conversations. This position must be held by an individual that has empathy and a keen ability to listen. And then the next one is, it would be important for the candidate to have demonstrated experience of bringing to the table local organizations and other constituencies to maximize as a team. Heart of Ellsworth, Chamber of Commerce, FBC, Green Plan, Historic Society. In the past, we have invested many consultants and studies, but why not find a city manager that sees partners as a way to go? Someone that demonstrates understanding of what we have as a city and has interest in delivering a vision that serves its residents and goes beyond the usual course of wanting to attract outside investment. A city that offers quality of life to its already established businesses and residents will bring other tax dollars. We would love to have a city manager that has presence in maximizing our resources. And then Nicole Grohosky says, state representative says, your state rep is standing by, eager to collaborate. That's it.
One of the other things that, while we're waiting, the council asked me to review the job description of the city manager, and I have put together a draft of a revised job description that the city council has. They'll have to discuss it, look at it, see if it fits what they are looking for, but it is an expansion of the job description you had in the past, and I think it brings it up to comparable best practices in terms of city manager job description. So I just want to let the public know that we did take a look at that, and the council will have to finalize it and adopt it.
John Stein just sent in a comment that he wants to echo Aaron Doherty in the manager's ability for creative collaboration with state and federal, as well as nonprofit, which could lead to TIF grants, block grants, and other things.
let me make a comment, having been a manager for 38, 40 years. The manager brings a lot of skills and can bring a lot of ability to help the council, but it also, so everyone understands, that the manager takes direction from the elected body. That's the way this works in terms of council-manager form. So I just think it's important everybody understand the manager can suggest, can give recommendations, but as I hear these issues about collaboration, I think they're great, but it also has to be a direction and a feeling that the council also supports what the manager is going to do. So I just put that on the table so that everyone understands that you hire a manager and they don't go off on their own doing things without support and direction of the city council. So just a little perspective of the position and how it works within the organization.
I'm bringing one person in.
Okay, this is Todd Little again. Thank you for that comment, because I was actually just thinking that, you know, one of the challenges as a citizen is knowing how to engage the council and how to engage the city manager. So many times, I mean, one of the things I was really thinking is obviously, as an employee of the council, the city manager may really focus on pleasing the council. One of the questions, I think, apropos of your comment in terms of recruiting, is maybe one qualification that would be good is somebody who, together with the council, can help facilitate communication with citizens. And I know that council has made a lot of efforts in that regard, but I think one of the things that's pretty clear to me is having multiple avenues of communication where the city manager might come to the council and say, hey, you know, we're hearing this from a bunch of citizens, that, you know, it's not just sort of one way the council telling the city manager what to do, but there's more of a back and forth in those terms. And I was really thinking somebody who can be pushed by the council and by the citizens, but also will push the council and citizens, if that makes sense.
Right, and the manager's job is to do both, help the council make decisions, bring suggestions. So your comment is correct, that the manager has a role in helping the community work together and to bring suggestions. And all I was trying to point out, that the direction comes, in the end, is going to come from the city council, but a good manager will bring suggestions and thoughts and concerns to the council. And the other part of that is with suggestions of how maybe to help everyone deal with those. So it's your suggestion is good, and I think it's one that, in a good relationship between an elected body and the council, elected body, the council, and the manager, is the communication issue that you raised. So it's a good suggestion.
Right. Yeah, and I just think that I think there was a commitment to try to increase that, and I think the council's worked hard. And I would love to see a city manager who could really help, you know, continue those efforts, because all of us are busy. You know, it's very hard. I watch the work that councilors have to do, and I say, oh, Jesus, you know, I'm going to walk in and ask them to do one more thing or one more idea. I have this great idea, when really, you know, as Aaron was saying, we're facing some really pretty tough choices. But that, you know, seems to me that conduit back where a city manager might say, hey, you know, Dale or whoever, you know, this is an idea you all should really listen to. Because I think sometimes I can only imagine all the things the councilors have to deal with, having that extra little voice to say, hey, this is an opportunity that could be missed. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more Q&As right now.
Well, we've been going almost an hour. Don't know if you want to continue or not. There's a point in time where,
I'll defer to Councilor Grindle, I guess.
I don't have any further comments or questions. This was more to gather information from the public, and I think we've done that. So unless anybody has any questions or comments they'd like to raise?
Todd just said thanks for doing this, that he's had all his comments addressed.
Thank you.
So I just want to reiterate what I said earlier, is anybody that's watching, if you have comments, please send them in. Talk with your friends, neighbors, if they have comments. There's still time to get input. It's not closed after we end this meeting. So it's important to have as much information from the community, so as we go through the process, we're well informed and can make decisions that represents the community.
Thank you all.